So the last thing that we need to do before we jump in here and we start drawing out the actual cave itself here on our map is we need to go through symbols and brushes. Symbols and brushes will do for you the same thing that we just did in copying and pasting a bunch of elements from one map into another map. Essentially, they make it so that we don't have to draw from scratch an individual stalactite every time we add a stalactite. We can simply draw one and then drag it in, make some slight modifications to make it look unique, and that will end up saving us a lot of time and effort down the road. So I'm going to open a couple of files here that contain my symbol libraries, and I'll show you how to create symbols from scratch and how you can also import symbols, and I'll make available my entire symbol library to you. So if you want to use that, you can, or you can go in and modify it and create your own, or you can just start from scratch and build your own symbols. So I'm going to go up here to File, and we're going to open. And I'm going to open my brush library, my symbol library, and my master library. So this one you're looking at here is the master library. And these are the original illustrations that I created. So none of these right now are actual symbols or brushes, but they're waiting to be built. Here in the Cave Symbols library, this is hit 0, completely empty. There's nothing here, but if I go up here to Window, and then I go down, let's see, what is this one? This is the symbols. So if I go into Window, and let's find my symbols right there, symbols, and open that up, you can see I have a whole library of symbols. If I come over here now, that panel stays open. This is my brushes. Command 0. There's nothing on symbols, but if I go to brushes, I've got a whole bunch of brushes that I've created. And I created those using this file right back over here. And this one has both the original illustrations, but it also has both the symbols. Or does it have both the symbols and the brushes? I guess it doesn't. Okay. This is what I use if I want to modify and create new symbols and brushes. And over here is where those symbols and brushes are stored, and I can import those into my current cave map. So let me just show you how they work, then I'll show you how I build them, and then we'll go over here and we'll import them into Long Cold Cave. So right now I'm in the brushes file. So to use a brush, I come over here. There's a couple of ways I can use it actually, and I'll show you the pluses and minuses of both of those. So let's see, where is the brush? I think it's probably hiding under pencil. There it is. You're going to grab the paintbrush tool, select the brush. So this is a small ledge. Right here, I've labeled each of these: medium ledge, large ledge, small ceiling ledge. So there's a bunch of different ones. Let's just draw them and see what happens. So now that I've got the brush tool, I'm going to draw my ledge, and you'll notice now it draws a ledge. So if in my cave I've got multiple ledges, there, I can draw those out. It doesn't look like it works super well when it's small, but we'll look at ways to deal with that down the road, because you obviously don't want, that doesn't look like a ledge, it looks like a bar. So we'll take a look at how we can adjust that later on. Let's take a look at the medium ledge. So this is just a little thicker. Right there is the large ledge. Let's see if I draw that close. All right. Go, and then we've got right here the ceiling ledge, different sizes of ceiling ledges, and I think that indicates bedrock, and then there's another symbol for bedrock. So those are some of the different symbols. That's how you use them with brushes, using just the brush stroke. Now what if, so let's say that I'm going to go back up here to the small ledge, and I draw this, but now I want the line to continue. So I come over here. Oh, there's some weird overlap. Like, why is that not stretching out? And I draw a little one. And I draw a big one. Like, that's just not, like, it's not working very well. Because the brush tool only allows you to draw a single stroke, and then once you've done that, you're kind of stuck with it. The pencil tool, on the other hand, so let's click here and open the pencil tool. This allows me to draw a line. And if I draw over the top of that line just a little bit, notice it continues the line. So I can do this, and then when I've finished the line, I can click right here and apply this small ledge to it. If I go the other direction here, So let's see. Watch if I go from left to right versus right to left. Let's see what happens when I apply this. So we'll select those, hit apply. And notice here it's on the bottom side and there it's on the top side. So depending on the direction you're going will depend on the way the lines face. Okay, now let me show you one last thing here on the brushes. So I talked about how this is an issue, obviously, where the lines are super close together here, kind of close there, and more normal over here. Let's look at how we can fix that. So I'm going to select a brush. Let's see which brush we've got that one selected. I'm going to click here and then go down to brush options. And here is where we control all the options for that particular brush. I am not completely sure on all of these and what they do. I would recommend that you play around with it as you're working on your brushes and see what ultimately works best. But here we've got stretch to fit, add space to fit, and approximate path. Let's play with those and see what happens if I preview it. So when I checked the box, so it applies to all of the brushes here. When I check the box add to So when I check the preview box, it shows me how this applies to all of the instances where I've applied that brush, which is great. So if I click add space to fit, now that's looking a little bit more reasonable. Most of them are about the same time. If I check approximate path, nah, that's not doing what I want. Stretch to fit doesn't work. Add space to fit seems to be the best option for this brush in particular. I can also come up here and play around with how it's impacted at different points along the line. So I haven't really played much with that, but we could play with it and see what happens. Looks like it doesn't even give me any options here. So I believe that this scale up here is basically if you're using a stylus to draw, which I don't. I'm just using the trackpad on the laptop. So anyway, I think that's about it for playing with some of the settings. I would encourage you to play around and just see what happens as you build your brushes. So I'll hit OK because that looks a whole lot better, and let's apply it to all of our strokes there. Probably do the same thing for each of these. So that's it on brushes. Let's take a look at symbols now. So I'm going to come back over here. We're going to open our symbols library. And symbols, the way that you apply those is all you have to do is grab, drag, and drop it. And there you go. Once you've dragged out a symbol, what you can then do, so I'm going to zoom in here. I can then grab that and stretch it out just a little bit and maybe shorten it. And then I grab another one right there and drop it in. And I'll grab another one of the same thing. And this one we're going to squish just a little bit. And maybe we add that right there. And then I'll grab just a regular one. And maybe on this one I'll go ahead and flip it. So I'll just grab it and drag it over like this. And we'll shrink that one down just a little bit as well. And now, so instead of going through and drawing each one of these with the pencil tool or the pen tool, you can just grab that out, adjust it, and super easily apply different symbols. So I can do that with all of these symbols. So if I'm drawing stalagmites, I've got different sizes of stalagmites here I can grab out. I've got, for some profile symbols, there's some helictites that I've drawn, and a whole bunch of other things. So you can see it's super easy to apply those symbols. The other thing that you can do here in the symbol library is if you, let's say you want to adjust that symbol. If I double click, for example, on this rock symbol, that opens the original instance of the symbol. I can click here and I say, you know, I don't really like the dark gray and the black. I'm going to actually switch these. So maybe for the gray, I'm going to switch that so it's an outline instead. So we'll do that. And let's see, that's a gray outline. I want it to be a black outline. So I'm going to double click up here. I double click on the color panel and that opens the color picker. So I can grab black down here, over here, hit OK. Now it's a black line. And then I'm going to adjust this here so that it doesn't, actually maybe what I can do even better. Let's do it the easy way. So I'll click here. Let's make that a white fill. So I'll double click on that, come up here, and now it's filled white. And there we go. So maybe I like that a lot better. Now all I have to do is double click on the empty space. And you can see that that change is now applied to this rock. It also would apply to every instance of that. So let's say I do that with this one. I'm going to grab out like 5, I'll grab 3 of this rock. and then I'm going to double click on it to go into it. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to swap that. I'm going to double click, come down here, make that black, and we're going to make the fill white. Okay. And there we go. And now if I double click out of it, notice all those rocks have updated. It's a little wonky right now because it's got this edge that sticks out beyond it. But I could go in if I wanted to and just refine that. So let's zoom in really close. Click on this shape. We'll adjust the size just a hair. Right there. Maybe we change, we could spend some time grabbing this. Whoops. Click on just that point. Click off it, click there. It's snapping, the snapping's bothering me. If you want to turn off snapping, come up here to view and then turn off smart guides. There's also somewhere in here snap to point, I believe. Let's turn that off and see if that does it for us. Still snapping. So one of these snapping features is causing me to not be able to fine tune it. So I could snap to glyph, turn that off. Turn off smart guide. Well, smart guides are probably fine. Let's do that snap to glyph and see if that takes care of it. Nope, still doing it. It's probably those smart guides. Anyway, once I'm done with that, I just double click and it's applied. I'll zoom out, Control 0, and there are my symbols. So pretty straightforward on how you use and then adjust symbols. So now let's look at actually building those. I'm going to close this out and don't save. And I'm going to close this out and don't save. And let's go in. So these are the original drawings that I made. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see stalagmites. And all I've done is use some of these drawing tools. So maybe I'd use the pencil or the pencil tool. And I just sit here and I draw my stalagmite. Let's come back here. Sometimes it's a little finicky. I'm trying to get that to connect. I'll have to try it a couple times. There we go. There it connected. And adjust that, and then I just change the fill. So I click black right there so that it fills black. And once I get a stalagmite that I really like and say, hey, this one looks really good, then I add it to the symbol library, and it's super easy to do. So to add it to a symbol library, I grab the shape, or if I'm grabbing something like this, which is two shapes, grab both of those, drag it over here, drop it, give the symbol a name. You tell it what kind it is. It's just going to be a graphic symbol. And I'm not sure what the difference is between dynamic and static. You can play with those and see. And enable guides for 9-slice scaling. Not sure what that is, but you can also play with that. But anyway, if I hit OK, now that symbol is created, and I can drag out as many instances as I want. So super easy to do. I'm going to undo that. Let's get rid of that. So same thing with all of these different symbols. These were just hand drawn with the pencil tool. These, I can't remember what I used. Probably the pen tool where I click, and then I came up here and did the little click drag to get a curvy, and then came down and clicked at the bottom. These I used one of the drawing tools. I can't remember. So anyway, you just use different drawing tools, draw out your symbols the way you want them, and then drag them and drop them over here in the symbol library. Same thing with the rocks. It's basically just drawing a shape with the, I think on these rocks, I used the pen tool, click, filled it with gray, and then click, and filled it with black, and then it was done. Super easy. So now let's take a look at brushes. So to build a brush, you draw out a segment of what that brush would look like. So here we've got a pit or a ledge. And once you've drawn that out, you simply grab that, come over to the brushes here, and then drag it over to brushes. And now it's going to ask you what kind of a brush you want to create with that. There's a couple of different types of brushes: scatter brush, art brush, or a pattern brush. A scatter brush is basically going to take, it's sort of like taking a symbol and painting it all over the place. So if I created a scatter brush of this one, let's hit OK. And we'll just call it scatter brush 1 because I'm going to get rid of it in a second. And now I use my brush tool. So I'm going to come over here, click to make that active, grab my brush tool and paint. Notice it's just making multiple of these. It's just scattering them all over the place, which is not obviously what I want. So let's try it again here. I'll drag this over and drop it, and we'll create a new art brush. And we'll hit OK. And I'm going to call this Art Brush 1. And we'll hit OK. Notice that there are some of the settings that we saw earlier there, but I think that this may still not be doing what I want it to do. So let's click it and try it out. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll grab our brush and let's make sure we got the right one, the new one that we created. Let's draw this out. Oh, it's working pretty good. There we go. Okay, so it looks like that does what we want it to do. Let's try one more time though, and we'll make this the other kind of brush, a pattern brush, and see what happens. Now this one looks familiar. This is what we were looking at before when we went in to edit it. So let's try it out and see. We're going to click the add space to fit because we had to do that on the last one. We'll hit OK. And where is that one at? Let's click off of there. So just click in the empty space. I got my brush tool, and it looks like, is that the new one? We'll hover over it for a second. Pattern brush 1. Let's try it and see what happens. Now that is super interesting. So it's a little finicky in how it is laying out. It looks like it's grabbing the exact length of that line and just distorting it. So that may not be what we want either. Anyway, the point I'm making here as I go through and explore each of these is try the different brush settings out and see which one works best with the brush that you are working on designing. So I'm going to undo a little bit here. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show you on brushes. So on these ceiling domes and ledges, one of the things that I had to add in, so I think that I created, let me just double check here. Let's see, did I create this with, oh I did, okay. So to create this brush, I used the pen tool, and instead of drawing a line and then another line, what I did is clicked, hold the shift key down, click, hold the shift key down, click, come up here, click with the shift key down, and then click. So I got the shift key down the whole time. Now I've got the line there, so I'm going to click off of it. So each of these shapes is an independent, it's a single line. It's not two lines together. So I did that, and then you'll notice there's a space in between. So in order to create that space in between, let me actually go back here. And you want it to be the same, because if I, whoops, what I'm doing is holding the Option key down, and with the Move tool, that allows me to drag a copy. So I'll just click and drag, 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 click and drag. Oops. So I've grabbed multiple, but obviously, I mean, this is a mess. They're not perfectly lined up. And I can sit here and try to eyeball it, but the spacing is not good. So what you can do is once you've drawn out these shapes, click and drag to select them all. And then you'll come to, let's see, can I do it here? Okay, Properties, Align. Then if I click here to see more options, there's Distribute Spacing. I'm going to distribute it horizontally. So now they're equally spaced apart, but they're still offset. So I'm going to use this one right here to vertically align based on the top. And there we go. So now they are all perfectly aligned and perfectly spaced. But here's the problem. So if I grab this and I create a brush, grab that, drag it over, we're going to create a pattern brush, which is what we want. Add space to fit, hit OK. And now we're going to apply that brush. So notice that as I draw this out, that there are some huge gaps here in between the brush. And the reason for that, in order to overcome that so you don't have these weird gaps, let's get rid of those. What I've done here is created an invisible path. So if I zoom in, there's an invisible line here. And for some reason, I don't understand exactly why, but having that line there allows that spacing to continue once it goes from one segment of this to the next one. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know why that is, but I added that and it seemed to work. You could also explore other things though. I mean, you could come back in here, draw the line, go into the options of the brush. I don't have that brush selected, so let's go into the options. And you could play with the stretch to fit, approximate path, play around with flipping it, see if that makes a difference, and see if you can find another way around. That was what I figured out, but there may be another and a better way to do that. So with this one here, So in order to make sure that it was the same, I think one of the things that I needed to do, I'm going to open my rulers here just to double check it because I could be right, I could be wrong. And I'm going to click on the rulers and grab out a guide. Okay. So bringing in this guide, basically what I did when I designed this is I wanted to make sure that this was in the exact same position as this over here. And I think if I moved the guide up, there we go. It is. That way, when this line ends, it's going to start right over here, and it's going to connect perfectly on that. So there's little things that you have to do and you play around with in order to make these work. But once you got them working and you've built your brush libraries, then you're going to save yourself so much time down the road. So the last thing that I need to show you, oh wait, I should probably show you these as well. Sorry. This is a scatter brush, and this is what I use for drawing silt and pebbles or rocks in the cave. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I'll just grab the oval tool up here and just like draw out a bunch like that. So there's several ways to do it. But the scatter brush, what it allows you to do, so I've drawn all these little points here, and then basically what I did is once I went through and meticulously drew a whole bunch of little dots, I then selected them all, clicked and dragged to select them all, and then grouped them together. So you can go up to Object and then to Group or Command G. And then once those are grouped together, I can just grab it and then I drag it over here into the brush, create a new scatter brush. So, and then there's some things that I can play with down here, which I'm not going to get into. You can explore those. Once you've got your scatter brush created, now if I grab the brush tool and I have got that selected, I draw out, I can create silt. And there's ways to adjust it. Like this is a ginormous one. You could grab just one little segment right there. And then, so if I zoom out here and I draw with this, notice now my whole sheet is covered in silt. So that's covering the entire page or a whole map in silt. You could, like I said, just take one little section. Let's actually do that here. So we will ungroup this. Shift Command G, grab this, drag it over here. We'll create a new scatter brush. Hit OK. That's fine. Grab our brush tool, and then we'll go ahead and draw that. And now it's repeating over and over again. We can play around with those settings and see if see what happens. It's actually, I'm gonna draw like a weird squiggly line. There we go. Let's adjust the options on those. See if we can see some changes. So check the preview box. Let's change it to random. Let's change this to random. This may again only be applying to if you're using a stylus. But try it and see. Apply to strokes. Okay, well that didn't work. But I can always just do little teeny patches of it like that to fill the area. Okay, so anyway, I think that's enough on brushes. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to import now these brushes. So I'm going to quit this and don't save it. I'm going to come over here into Long Cold Cave. I should probably change this name because it's going to confuse me. So I'm just going to use the selection tool, click here, double click to select it, and now let's call that Long Cold. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to import those brushes now. So I'll click on the menu. We'll go down to Open Brush Library, and we'll say Another Library. And now I'm going to navigate to those brushes. So let's see, where did I put those at? They should be here. Symbols. And I'm going to go ahead and import my brushes. And actually, let's see, I'm on brushes. So let's do brushes. We'll hit Open. And there it is. So there are all of my brushes. And we're going to do the same thing for symbols. And let's see. We'll go ahead to File and Open Symbol Library. Open the library. All right, so there we go. We've opened the symbols. I'm going to close that. Now it doesn't show up in the main brushes and symbol library, but now anytime I can come in here, go to Open Brush Library, and there it is. I'll just click on that. It'll open it, and then I can use any of these brushes or symbols. They're now attached to my document, and that's going to make things so much easier as we get in here and we start drawing out our map.